Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Directors Lounge. We have over 100 new members in the past week, so super exciting. A lot of you have never been to a Facebook Live session, so please say hello, introduce yourself in the comments, tell me who you are, and we're going to get started right away. Our live sessions are super short, straight to the point, lots of action and strategy, so welcome. Again, if you're here, say hello in the comments so that I can welcome you. Let's see who's here. Chris is here. Hey, Chris. Always good to see you. Let's see who else is here. Excuse me. All right, so again, just say hello in the comments. There's so many new people here, so I'm just trying to get to know everyone. Courtney's here, Laura's here, Barbara's here, all my regulars. Awesome. Great to see you, ladies. I'm going to give 2 more minutes for everyone to kind of show up. And then we'll get started. I spoke to tons of directors today on the phone, so that was a lot of fun. Jamie, hey. Hi, Sandy. I got to speak to like over 30 directors on the phone today, just calling people, thanking them for getting the lifetime pass to the conference. So that was fun getting to chat with lots of people today. All right, so let's dive in. So the 80-20 rule of teacher buy-in. So I want to I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think I've shared this on like different support, Facebook Lives and support sessions and different things like that, but I had just a different kind of take on this recently. So a lot of times we struggle with getting our staff, if we're a director or if we're an owner, we struggle with getting our directors to buy into what our vision is about and what we're really trying to accomplish in our center. So sometimes it could be something as simple as like, you know, these are the new policies, or, you know, in order for us to get an AC accredited, this is what has to get done. And we get a lot of pushback, we get a lot of resistance. So I'd love to hear from whoever's here, what's some of the like common phrases that you hear from your directors or from your teachers with the pushback? Like, what are they telling you? What are some of the things that keep coming up again and again in your conversations when you're trying to bring people on board? So again, for those of you that are new here, you can just type your response in the chat box. That's the way we always did it. Yeah, that's my favorite one. Tell me some other ones. I don't have time. I love that one. I don't have time. I'm doing a keynote in February at a conference that the details haven't been released yet, so I can't tell you where I'm going to be speaking. But anyways, I'm middle of putting together the details of my keynote speech, and one of the things that I'm talking about is what is the underlying, what are some of the common, no, I forget what the title is, but basically when a teacher says, I don't have time, here's all the things that she actually means. I forget what I called it. I gave it this really great name. And so that's one of the things I'm talking about at the keynote, that when a teacher actually says they don't have time, she actually means one of these things. And your job as the leader is to try to identify, well, what does she actually mean? Because time is never a reason why she's actually not doing it. There's always a deeper reason behind the time. It's never that she doesn't have time. It's, I'm not, okay, so some of the things are like, I'm not competent to do the job. So like, I physically can't do it. I don't have the skill set to get it done. That's one excuse for time. Another one is lack of clarity. So I don't understand all the different moving pieces to get this job done. So I'm not sure if I have to do this part or someone else has to also get in on here. So my excuse is I don't have time, but really it's, I'm unclear of what my actual job is. Another thing, when a teacher says she doesn't have time, actually means that she's overwhelmed with her personal life. So I don't have time because there's so much going on in my personal life and all of this kind of stuff that I don't have time. Yeah, so Jackie and I were just saying it's a lack of knowledge of their job. Yes, so that's another one. So like, it's a lack of clarity, it's a lack of competency. Time is never the reason. It's always something deeper. And it's tricky to kind of get into and understand what that is. But, and Sandy, for each of your people, it could be something else. Like it could be for one person, it's a lack of knowledge of their job. And sitting down with them and just getting so much more specific of like, okay, tell me what you think that, you know, your job is about, or like what you're supposed to be doing between the hours of 9 and 10. Like, what's the best use of your time? Because as an owner, it's really important to me that every single person is working at their natural best, right? Like Simon's session just went live today again. And one of the questions he always asks is not about how do I get the most out of my team, but how do I create an environment that works to everyone's natural best? And when we ask ourselves those questions, yeah, so any good questions? Yeah, so some questions are, so give me, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here for a second actually, because I think this is helpful for everyone. So tell me, can you just give me one specific example and then I can help you kind of flesh out some really great questions. While you're doing that, Jamie says, you don't pay me enough. Yeah, I love that one, that's a classic. Don't wanna do any outside work hours. Of course not, because you don't pay me enough. When really, teachers really are happy to push themselves in specific areas. So, okay. Hi, Nikki, good evening. So proper. Over here, we just say, hey, what's up? But you could say good evening too. Okay, so Sandy, while you type that out, I'm just gonna dive in over here to some of the strategies for the 80-20. So one of the things is that we need to be aware of the first thing is that you're never gonna get buy-in from everyone at the same time, ever. Because people come in at different stages, right? So like, when Apple releases one of their new products, you always are going to have those early adopters. They're the raving Apple fans. They're going to buy whatever they put out. Immediately they buy. They don't even ask questions. They don't even care what the specs are. They're there. Their credit cards, they buy in advance. They prepay in full, all of that. Okay, those are the early adopters. Okay, then you have the people in the middle, right? So you always have people at the opposite end that they're almost never going to come on, or you need to like really push them in. But the people in the middle usually need to see, okay, what's really going on here? And if the early adopters are really excited about this, they're gonna come in with their own skill set. And so your job as the director, the 80-20, is to actually say, okay, who are gonna be my early adopters with this specific project? And what I mean by that is that someone who's an early adopter for an outdoor classroom, who's excited about, hey, yeah, let's get involved in the outdoor classroom, may actually be the biggest naysayer about bringing in, about starting like monthly staff meetings that are going to be focused on, team building and culture. She might be like, what do we need that for? That's so crazy. That's such a waste of time. Meanwhile, she'll stay till like 10 p.m., 1 o'clock in the morning working in the outdoor classroom because she's excited about that. And so what's important is to kind of create that line with who are going to be my early adopters in this specific area. So before you bring in this new initiative and before you bring in this new program, or you've had this program for a long time and no one's coming in, sit down and really look at your teacher roster and really ask yourself, who are the 2 or 3 even people that I know I could for sure get on board with this? And that will get the ball rolling. Okay. Oh, hey, Kim. Good to see you. Okay, so Sandy says struggling with lesson plans and meeting classroom assessments. Okay, so that's like a teacher, I'm guessing, is struggling with lesson plans and meeting classroom assessments. Yeah, so couple things. Firstly, struggling with lesson planning, that's a really hard thing to get down pat. There's so many different parts. There's so many different skills that are needed to complete a lesson plan, right? So there's number one, understanding how to work backwards, right? So if I want the kids to go home with this concept at the end, what am I doing in my classroom to get them to that goal? And a lot of people have a hard time working backwards in that way. So like, what do I need to put out of the centers? What do I need to put out my circle time? What kind of materials do I need to have? What kind of books do I need to take out of the library? Like, those are all questions that teachers have to ask themselves in order to create a great lesson. Then struggling with lesson planning is also about, does the teacher even know how to put that on a spreadsheet or fill it in, or however she needs to do that? There's like that visual piece. Maybe she has to email it as an attachment. Like now there's a tech component to it. And so I think the first step is like, if you could sit down and really break down the steps of what does submitting that lesson plan mean in your school, because in every school it means something else. And then really sitting down with her and say, okay, let's say her name is Sarah. Sarah, I really sat down, we broke down what, like, all the different parts of like creating a lesson plan. And I know that recently you've been struggling with it a little bit. And so I'd love to go through all the different steps. And on a scale of 1 to 10, let's rate how you feel your ability is to work within these things. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is because it's super important to me that every teacher is working at her highest strength. And it could be that one area of like this breakdown is actually something that you really struggle with, and maybe we can give it to your assistant. Maybe the secretary could do it. Maybe the assistant, doesn't, the assistant, director could, do that small part of it. The point is that we're all here as a team. We're all here to help each other. And no one should ever feel like they have to carry the burden by themselves. And so that's why I broke this down, because I really want to help you map this out really, really well. So that would be like a great place just to get started with lesson planning. And then as far as meeting classroom assessment, Sandy, I'm actually releasing a training called Meet the Deadline Framework in the Inner Circle. And so maybe what I'll do is I'll actually convert that into an audio file or something so that the center owners can get access to that as well, because it's a Inner Circle thing. So I'll private message me and I'll help you out with that, because I think it could be really helpful. Okay, so Shaba is here. I hope I pronounced your name right. The bottom line is respect and trust. If your staff trust you have your best interest and respect, they'll work for you and do anything you ask. Yeah, but best intentions do not replace actual skills. So the bottom line is we could say lots of things, right? So we could say like, well, if my husband, trusts me and respects me, then he'll just do everything that I need, and he'll magically understand that I need him to do this, and I need him to do that, and I need him to do this, and he'll do anything I ask. No, it doesn't work like that in relationships. We have to create the environment for them to work in that kind of way. So yes, respect and trust are super important, but not every teacher is going to get on board, even if they trust you and respect you 1,000%. They're going to get on board at different phases, and some teachers are just never going to get on board with certain projects. Paula, you have some teachers who won't do lesson plans. Okay. A thing with lesson plans that's also important to understand, just when it comes to like the teacher spectrum, is some teachers actually thinks it's demoralizing to write a lesson plan, especially a veteran teacher who's been teaching for many, many years and knows what she's doing in the classroom and does a great job. She can actually find it like degrading to hand in a lesson plan. And so it's really important to understand who is that teacher that doesn't want to hand in the lesson plan, and then come from that door, okay? Because there isn't only one way to get through to teacher, okay? There's multiple entrances, and you have to know which entrance you have to come into with that specific teacher. Nikki, hey, been there, some things no matter what I wanted to be on board with, I couldn't do it. However, things that I was really excited about, you couldn't pry me away from. Yes, so there we go. Nikki's been on both sides, and she, definitely relates to that. Thanks for sharing that, Nikki. I'm going to share one more thing. I just want to read through some of the comments here. Laura says, we have a general outline for lesson plans. Each teacher makes it their own, all the components, but their own way of using their own format. Yeah. So again, every school has their own way of doing lesson planning. It really depends on the kind of school that you are also. Like I worked in a Reggio-inspired school. I didn't have to hand in a lesson plan ever because it was a real Reggio-inspired school. So it was all based on the interests of the kids, and the director really trusted me, and she saw my classroom. She knew what was going on. Like, she never asked me for a lesson plan. I never, ever handed in a lesson plan, ever. The first year that I taught, that was the only year I did it. And I taught for 8 years. So again, every school has a completely different style. Now, does that mean that every single teacher that was working in the school didn't hand in lesson plans? Absolutely not. Most of the teachers had to hand them in. I personally didn't hand them in because it wasn't needed. So again, that's another really important piece to understand also, is that there's school policies, there's standards, and then it's like, okay, you know what? This teacher doesn't need to hand in a lesson plan. I know everything that's going on. I know she's doing a great job. I don't need to see that lesson plan, right? So that's another thing, is that, are we being too rigid with the rules also? But again, you have to know your staff. Yeah, super. Okay, fine. Let me just go down. Sandy says, love working backwards. Yeah, oh my gosh, that is like my favorite strategy. Always work backwards like that. So I do that in everything in life, right? So like, if I have to be out of the house by 8 o'clock in the morning and I have all these steps, what time do I have to, wake up? If I'm by myself this morning and I have to get 3 kids out of the door by 8:30 in the morning on the bus, and the cleaning lady's not here and I'm one person, how much earlier do I need to get up in order to make sure everyone's ready without me, screaming and yelling at my kids the entire morning? Okay. Also have an outline. Okay, awesome. So great. So my first thing when it comes to the 80-20 rule teacher buy-in is to understand, number one, who are the early adopters when it comes to this specific thing that you want to bring in. The second thing is, the second thing that we were saying before is, how do I make sure that every teacher works at her natural best, okay? Every single teacher has something special to give, for real, for real, for real, for real. Even the teacher that you think is like just there for the paycheck and she's really burnt out and it's really time for her to go and she should have retired years ago or whatever it is, she still has something incredible to offer, for sure. And so the question is, are you really tapping into that greatness? Because if you do, it is so much easier to get that person on board, because you're tapping into their greatness, right? Everyone wants to magnify another piece of themselves, and just everyone wants to contribute. It's a human need. Everyone wants to have contribution. Everyone needs to have contribution in their life. Everyone needs to feel like they're giving to something. And so for some people, they have a massive need for contribution, right? So they're these big philanthropists and they give thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, and they're contributing to all these causes in third world countries or whatever it is. And then there's teachers, right, who don't have access to all those resources, but they want contribution, okay? They're teachers, for crying out loud. They contribute to their classes. They want to make an impact. And so the question is, are we giving them enough opportunities to have contribution? right? So for veteran teachers, having them contribute at staff meetings more, letting them share their ideas of what they, did in previous years. Having them, we did this with a different teacher who's has a number of master certifications, and she's really, really well educated, but she's really struggling with classroom management in the classroom, right? That's not her strength. She's really smart, really well educated, very scientific. And so I told the director, I said, hey, ask her if she would love to share, a science experiment that they could do with the kids. Or maybe she has data research or statistics on something that has to do with early childhood that she can share as a great snippet of information in the beginning of the staff meeting, and she kicks off the meeting. Everyone wants to contribute. And so leverage her genius. She's a genius. She has multiple master degrees. And she feels like a failure because the 22-year-old in the classroom or the one next door is running this really well-oiled machine. Great, but that person doesn't have multiple master degrees. Let them learn from each other. And that's another big piece of the 80-20 with staff buy-in. Is everyone contributing to each other, or are you consistently creating this competitiveness? All right, awesome. We really got on a tangent over here on lesson plans. Okay, fine. I'm not going to read all these comments over here. Lesson plans and assessments are due by Thursday. We email them along with support and formative assessments. Yeah, awesome. Okay, fine. All right, ladies. So I just wanted to get into this last piece over here. So much of teacher buy-in is the environment. And for those of you that watched Simon's session that went live today or watched a session in the past, he talked so much about the culture and the environment and how to really create that space. So make sure you watch a session before it goes down tomorrow. Tomorrow we have some other speakers that are coming on. On Tuesday, we have another awesome speaker. David Marquet talks so much about accountability. And so a huge piece of teacher buy-in is accountability, and just the follow-up and everything that comes along with it. So tune into his session as well, which is a huge piece of teacher buy-in. And then the last day of the conference on day 5, on Thursday, Marshall Goldsmith's session is going live, and he talks all about the great achiever versus the great leader, which is a massive thing to understand when it comes to teacher buy-in as well. At the same time, just understanding the difference of what it means that I'm this great achiever and I'm this great person as opposed to the great leader, right? And so one of the things he said, not in the session that I did with him, but one of the things that he said at a different conversation that I've had with him was, he said, if the director or the owner or whatever it is always feels like they could do it better than their admin, their assistant, their secretary, the teacher, okay? Raise your hand. Okay, so you know what, actually, before I tell you what he said, tell me in the comments if you feel like a lot of the time you could do the job better than your team. We got 3 minutes to go. So let's see some quick comments here. And then I'll let you know what he said. Awesome. Okay, Nikki says, yes, thanks for your honesty. Kim, fist bump. I love you. You do have an awesome team. So one of the things that he said was that if you feel like you can typically do it better, it means that you haven't surrounded yourself with the right people. Because he says if you think that you could do the marketing better than the marketing director, then you don't have the right marketing director, right? Or if you think that you could teach the classroom better than that teacher, yeah, you might have been an amazing teacher, whatever it is, but you gotta give that teacher more competence and more skill, or you need to hire a better teacher to get into that classroom. Because he says the point of being the great leader is not to have the answers to everything, but to surround yourself with people that are so much smarter than you, because that's how you build an incredible center, right? And so typically, you know, the owners are really smart, right? That's why they're owners, okay? They're smart, they're ambitious, they're overachievers, they're really goal-driven, they know where they're heading, they have a great vision. And a lot of the things that hold them back is their ability to just let go and delegate and hire really smart people around them. And I read something interesting today. Lolly Daskal actually has a new blog post. And one of the things she said is that leaders have egos. That's for sure. Like, don't even try to say I don't have an ego, because she said all leaders have egos. The point is, she said, you want that ego to come from your heart. And you want it to come from a good place. And I love that piece that she said, that don't be ashamed to say, yeah, I get to my head sometimes, I have an ego or whatever it is, but make sure that you're always leading from within and always leading from that place of goodness. And I'm gonna, you know, just leave off with that point, because a lot of times we try to negate, like, oh no, I don't have an ego, or no, my team is so much better than me, or whatever it is. And it's okay to say, yeah, I'm damn good at what I do. And yeah, you are. And it's fine to say that. You know, you've achieved amazing things in your career and in the growth school, you know, schools that have, you know, lots of children or multiple centers. Yeah, you're awesome. But now the thing is that always lead from your heart, and then the ego doesn't step in the way, and then your head doesn't become bigger than the rest of, you know, than the rest of your body, because you're always leading from within. Anyways, ladies, we're at 9:30. I always like to keep the Facebook Lives at 30 minutes. So I'm just going to leave you with this point. And as you sign out, again, always remember to let me know what is your action step, or what is your aha moment from our session today. So if it's that last point that I was just saying about the ego, you could write that. If it's an aha moment from the 80-20 rule, just let me know what is your action step. What are you committing to? Something different you want to do tomorrow, just a little mindset shift, just something that you're committing to. And again, remember, we're live at the conference this week. Got a couple hours left for the early bird, so jump in on that if you haven't had a chance to yet. And so while you're logging out, let me know what your action step is, and I'm just gonna jump in over here and just put the link to the conference. Definitely the ego. I'm going to try to lead from my heart. I love that. Yeah, it really was an aha moment for me today. I read that post and I was like, God, that's a good one. Okay, someone else here, and then I'm going to check out, and I have to get myself an early night, so I still need my sleep. Nikki says, definitely the ego, try to lead from the heart, surrendering is the key. Yes. Vulnerability, surrender. Courtney, I feel like I missed exactly what the 80-20 means. So I'll do a quick recap for you, Courtney. So the 80-20 is that sometimes we try that we have to be 100%, right? We have to get 100% buy-in. All the teachers have to get on board, all of that kind of stuff, right? And the 80-20 is about, okay, who are the 20% of the teachers that are going to give me 80% of the result that I'm looking for, right? So 20%, who are those 2 or 3 teachers that are going to get on board with this initiative and is going to give me 80% of what I'm really trying to cover, as opposed to trying to do 100%, because you almost never get to 100%. You're always looking for consistent, imperfect action. If you always try to go for 100%, you will be paralyzed. You will never take action. And so that's why we have the 80-20 rule with lots of things, right? So the 80-20 in the teacher mind is those 20% of teachers to 80% of the result. So I hope that kind of sums up in 60 seconds what I was talking about. Elle says, my huge challenge is to learn to delegate. I'm trying to surround myself with people who I can trust. Leading from the heart is a great point. Yes. So First of all, there's two pieces here. You know, there's learning how to delegate. You can have really smart people and still have a really hard time delegating, even if you have the right people. So it's two pieces. Understanding the leadership concept of how to delegate, how to let go. Very, very difficult. Very, very hard. And then there's surrounding yourself with the right people, which is knowing how to hire the right people. Thank you, Kim. That's really sweet. I appreciate that. My mindset is to start working backwards from my goals and growth leadership from directors and teachers and everything in between. I love that, Sandy. Yeah, even just that little piece of like really just starting to work backwards. Take that in small baby steps. It's going to be a huge, huge difference. And you're very welcome. Makes sense. I missed the number tie. No problem, Courtney. To have each teacher share a strength they have in the classroom, start at each staff meeting. Yeah, so everyone's sharing their genius. Awesomeness. Rosanna, hello. Awesome. Definitely check that out. You're very welcome, Jamie. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Always fun to be here. Thank you, everyone that joins live. I really appreciate it. It's always great to have a conversation. I can't go live if I don't have an audience unless I could talk to myself, which my kids and my husband think I do all the time because I sit here in front of a computer and they don't hear any conversation back and forth. Anyways, I love you all. Thanks for joining. Please stay tuned. The conference is epic. Tomorrow we have some incredible speakers coming on. It is awesomeness. And take care. I love you all. Bye.